Hey guys, going to go a little bit slower on this one so I don't mess it up and trip over myself like I normally do. So, this is a DZ build, and I think you might like this one. It's something that most people use in the DZ, but has my own little spin on it. So, we can start in the usual way and we'll go through all the bits and pieces. So, starting off with the specialization, I'm using the firewall. Now, the reason for the firewall really is solely just the medkit. 200% armor recovery over 10 seconds is crazy. That's a hell of a lot. If you take damage within those 10 seconds that you're healing, it's like having armor regen. So it's excellent, very, very good. And you can use it to medkit push enemies. So yeah, excellent. The other thing is that I'm using assault rifles and shotguns, which are synergizing. And with me using the shotgun, it unlocks the attachment, the tactical short grip. This is something that I'll be utilizing a little bit in the build, so I will show attachments more so than what I normally do in other videos, just to emphasize the point that this is something that I am using and potentially you might want to use as well. Other than that, the cover to cover can be quite handy, but there's nothing else really here that's going to be of massive benefit to us. Okay, so let's go take a look at the build. So to start off with, we'll take a look at the build here. So for my first weapon, I'm using a 870 MCS, and it's rolled with weapon damage, damage to armor, and damage to targets out of cover, so nice trifactor of damage. I'm also using the talent Brazen. Now, Brazen, again, if you're very, very close, you're hitting all your shots, that amplified damage is really, really, really good. I personally think this is the most meta shotgun talent. However, failing that, should you not have it, Optimist could be okay. Pumped Up is also an option, but this is probably not the best because you're having to reload. By the time you've already done that, you might be dead. So, if you have Brazen, go with Brazen. So again, I'll just show the attachments for a quick second here. So I'm using a crit chance mod and a crit damage mod, the tactical short grip, because it's giving me 15%. So just make sure that I show that for you. Okay, for my second weapon, I'm using the Lexington. Now, not everybody's going to have this weapon. I understand that. That's absolutely fine. So you have a couple of choices. One excellent choice is the Shield Splinter. That's a great weapon to use with it, but you lack the underbarrel, and that's why I actually had one of those weapons and changed it to the Lexington, because I wanted to take advantage of the underbarrel. However, you could also use a FAMAS. FAMAS would be great. Now, my Lexington is rolled with assault rifle damage, health damage, and damage to targets out of cover, and I'm using the talent Optimist. Now, Optimist is great because you shoot your gun, you get damage, okay? So it's really, really good. So any of those weapons with a potential roll of Optimist would be good. What I will do is, I will just go through and show the weapon attachments. So, again, you can see here I'm using the tactical grip, and that is why I've swapped out one of my previous weapons, which was the Shield Splinter, for this. And I'm also using another crit damage attachment, which can be either, it doesn't matter. I do have one crit chance mod, and you'll see the reason why that is when I show my stats. So, going through my gear, the first thing to note is that I'm using the Exotic Coyote's Mask. This is a great piece. What it does is, depending on where you hit an enemy, which distance, it will give you either crit damage, crit hit chance, or more crit hit chance, basically. So it's going to give you a mixture of either crit hit chance and damage, or one or the other, depending on the range. So we can see there, if you're 0 to 15 meters, it's going to give you crit hit damage. So the closer you are, the more crit damage you get. And the further they go away, the more crit chance you get. So that's going to give us a bit of leeway for not having a max rolled crit chance, because we might be shooting at enemies further away. We're going to get a little bit more crit chance. If we're shooting at enemies close, we're going to get more crit damage. So with that in mind, it's rolled the usual way with weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and then a nearly full mod of crit damage. I don't have a 12%. Close enough. So for the backpack, I am using a Badger Tough. Now, again, you could use a Walker Harris here. with Perfect Adrenaline Rush, the Matador. It's up to you. It all depends on what weapons your preferences are, but because I am using a shotgun, this fills my requirements quite nicely. This one has a core attribute of armor and then has double crit on the bottom, so that's crit chance, crit damage, and a crit hit damage mod. At least this time I've got a full one. And I have Adrenaline Rush, so as enemies get close, I get bonus armor, which is quite useful, can help a little bit. It's not compulsory, like if we were using Intimidate, but if enemies are getting close, it's going to give us a chance to have that little bit of extra armor. On my chest, I've just noticed I haven't got a mod in here, so we'll just fix that now. It's unusual. So I've got assault rifle damage, and it has weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and a crit damage mod. I may just need to check that because depending on where my crit chance, crit damage is, and that's something that I'll point out and show you when we get there. However, I'm using Unbreakable, and this is a really good PvP talent because when our armor breaks, it's going to give us 95% of our armor back, or I think it's about 60 or 70 in PvP. So that's great. That's going to help us a lot. That's going to help us stay alive. Okay, so moving on to the glove, we have the Contractor's Glove. We don't use LMGs, so this gives us LMG damage, which is basically completely a waste. However, it is a best-in-slot piece, and the reason that it is a best-in-slot piece is because of that 8% damage to armor. Now, I have a core attribute of armor and then a crit damage roll on the bottom, so this is going to give us some extra armor, and it's also going to give us that multiplicative damage to armor bonus that we're looking for. For the holster, I have a Cheska, and this one is rolled with armor and double crit on the bottom. Not always easy to find, but it's something that's going to allow us to have that 1.6 million armor that we look at later on. And then for my knees, yes, I could have the Fox's Prayer, absolutely. However, in this case, I'm looking for more crit, because in crit chance and crit damage are going to give us burn damage. And in PvP, having burn damage sometimes can be more useful than having damage to targets out of cover. Just all depends. It really does depend. But in this case, I've gone with the burn damage to the crit damage. So we're using Grupo Sombra. Again, we have a armor roll on the top, and then followed by double crit, which is not always easy to find. For my skills, I'm using a holographic distraction, which is great for hiding the fact when you go rogue or if you're getting chased. Very, very useful to hide your nameplate and allow you to get away with things that you might not otherwise be able to get away with if you were not using the skill. And then the main skill that I use with most of my PvP builds is the Defender Drone, and that is just for the straight up damage reduction. It is useful in PvP. Now, one thing that you might notice that I haven't mentioned up to now is that I'm using the Busy Little Bee. Now, I don't want to ruin the surprise here because this is something that I've not seen a lot of people do, but I will show this in the range in just a minute. So let's just check the range, make sure we're on heroic so we can get the right benchmarking numbers, and then we can also go check the build deck quickly as well. So we'll go over our stat sheet. So shotgun is using Brazen, Optimist on the Lexington, and then the Busy Little Bee, which is the surprise that I will show in just a moment. I'll go through my damage numbers so you can just take a quick look. Moving down to weapons bonus damage. Okay, so we're using Adrenaline Rush and Unbreakable. And we're using Pack Instincts from the Coyote's Mask. Brand sets are as follows, using Badger Tough, Fenris, we're using the Contractor's Glove, which is the name piece, Cheska, and Grupo. We have nearly 1.6 million armor, standard amount of health. Little disclaimer here, My watch level is over 1,000, so if you are not over level 1,000, some of your mileage may vary. Just bear that in mind. And again, we're using the decoy and the drone, which is fine. So, obviously I've got two main weapons. One is for close. Just put it on named. Now again, if you want to see gameplay, I will do that. But with builds, I tend to just show the build on YouTube, let people have a look at it. And if people want gameplay, I will do gameplay. It's not a problem. But with my editing skills and the way that I make videos, I'm not quite there yet. So you'll have to bear with me. As I get better at doing things, maybe I'll incorporate cutting bits and pieces into a video. But right now, I'll do it separately, you know? So again, if we get that brazen talent, we're going to be hitting for big numbers. So aiming for the chest or the head, if you're close enough, is great. And then we have the Lexington. Okay, so what I wanted to go through is the busy little bee. Now, a lot of people don't do this, and this is something that I don't see a lot of people doing in the DZ. But what you can do is, in the DZ, is you can run around with this busy little bee when you come out of a checkpoint or wherever you come out of. Just run over to a landmark and just shoot a few enemies. And what this is going to do is it's going to give you damage. Now, maybe I didn't show off the talent on the busy little bee, but we can do that in just a second, as this is a little bit of a special sort of ad hoc occasion. So now we're fully charged. Once we get into PvP and we know that we're getting close to an enemy, we can just switch weapon. And you can see that we're hitting for absolutely ridiculous numbers. So for the first person that you get into a fight with, that might allow you to burn somebody really quick. It's useful. I'll show off the talent dead quickly. It's rolled with damage to armor. Again, damage to targets with out of cover would have been better. But the busy little bee, so every time you hit a target, it's going to allow you to stack up. And it's basically going to give you like 200% weapon damage once you're fully stacked and you switch weapon. So it's something that I don't see a lot of people doing, but I think this is something that's potentially quite broken if you use it in the right way. So, just something to think about. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed that one. I'll post a few more videos soon, hopefully. I've got a lot of builds that I want to show off at some point, but just don't have the time between working and other things. So, we'll see when we get to them, but hopefully I can push a couple more out over the next couple of days. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. See you all in the next one.